what is going on, Dana?
Not much. Hanging out, waiting to start the next episode of Two Guys Talking Toys with you.
That's what we are. Me and all our faithful listeners, all our faithful watchers. We appreciate everyone watching and listening. Real quick before you do anything, for reasons I'm not quite sure of, I think YouTube ate your brother Dale's comment.
No, he deleted it. I'll explain later.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I just wanted should I address it? I mean, he made a pretty good point in it.
Yeah, I didn't actually get to see it, read it all the way through. So yeah, put it up, man.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the I had forgotten the name, the Olmec toy line that we talked about last week about we were
Right.
talking about African American action figures. The Olmec toy line that Wiley Easton introduced was called the I think the Bronze Bombers,
Yes.
and they were essentially the African American equivalent of GI Joe. And I knew that they existed, and I completely forgot like the name. So I want to thank Dale for bringing that up. I looked up the designs. I only vaguely remembered them, and I looked them up, and there's some kind of cool designs in there with
Yeah.
both the main characters as well as some of the villains. I want those in the classified line. Like, just give me like a quick 5-pack subline of that, and I'd be happy.
That would be cool if they got the same treatment that Sunman got in the Massiverse line.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be awesome. Dale had a crew of I don't know, like his soldiers to GI Joe, and he had, corpse now are made different than they were then,
Yeah.
but that those guys were sort of built the same as like the A-Team figures. I don't know if they was from the same company or not, but anyway, he had this group of soldiers, and they were their code name was the Mouse Farts. So
They got a lot done.
yeah, they did. They were quiet.
So, have you found anything new this week? You've made any?
I did. I got
purchases?
the classifieds Cobra Ferret.
Oh, yes. Oh, that looks great.
Yeah, it's a cool piece of machinery. And you know what I've always loved about the GI Joe vehicles, even the vintage ones, the decals on them. Like it has right here. I'm sure you can't read it, but it's missile launch information. Like it's the safety specs on how you should launch the missiles.
For all those newbies they send out there to get blown up indiscriminately.
Yeah, and the great Cobra emblems on there and things. Very, very well done. And the figure that comes with it is quite cool as well. She's got all her
That is really cool.
yeah, it's a great figure. And look, if you look at the instructions that come with it, they even show you how to put the helmet on.
It goes this way. Which
They
I
must
imagine
they must really think we're a bunch of dum-dums who buy these toys.
it's probably more for the Cobra recruits. Yeah, they have a hard time.
Right.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of Cobra soldiers wandering around, not sure why they can't see, and it's because their helmet's on backwards.
Right.
Or they managed to balance it on top of their heads.
Now, one thing about this figure that I find interesting, she's got the arched eyebrows of discontent. You know, the kind of people who join terrorist organizations, right? Especially
very upset, but always very well done eyebrows.
Especially women who join terrorist organizations. But she has like, you're not going to be able to see it in this camera, but she has like these weird yellow eyes. They're like hauntingly like yellow green eyes. I don't know if it's just mine, but if you get this toy, you got to check out these eyes. They're
the
really
evil cyborg variant.
Yikes. Right. That's how she kills people. She looks up to the guys like, "Wow, you have pretty eyes!" Bang, right in the head.
I've never seen that before. Is that lemon? Is that lemon lime? What is it?
Lemon line. I'm gonna call you Sprite. Boom.
Gets him every time.
Yeah.
Like lemon lime's our most efficient assassin. We just send her out.
Anyway, did you get anything new? While I'm playing googly eyes with a Cobra toy.
That would, you know what? That would make so many Cobra vehicles, just vehicles in general, so much more entertaining. Just put a pair of googly eyes on them.
Yeah, I just bought a pair of eyes for the front of the Jeep. The headlights, yeah, they're like snake eyes, and the lights shine through them. I haven't put them on yet, but
that was one of the things that made Mega Man such a strange game to play sometimes, because pretty much everything that is shooting at you in the game has eyeballs. And after a while, it gets a little disconcerting because they were programmed to kind of like track you.
Right.
You'd be running around and you'd hear somebody's watching me playing in the background. And it is because they're all watching you.
Rockwell.
Dr. Wily is the master of terror.
Mhm.
So I've been looking, I've been looking to get this for a very long time. And I was finally able to save up enough credit on Amazon to get this while it was on sale. Master Weng, that
Oh,
really
yes,
cool
I have
tiger
that
from Pure Eye
figure.
Toys.
I love that
Holy
figure.
cow, is he? I'm almost scared to take him out of the box. This is,
No, take him
but
out.
oh, this is fantastic. And now the Siberian uh repaint.
The white one.
Yes, the
Right.
white tiger version of him exists, and now I want this in all the flavors. I want him as like a gold tiger. I want him as like a melanistic tiger. Like just invert the colors, make him black with orange stripes. Holy
Mhm.
cow, this thing is insane. And also huge, also massive. So he is definitely hanging out with my Thundercats when I get him
Oh,
all
I
set
thought you
up.
were gonna put him with your Tiger Force.
Oh, he absolutely should be with Tiger Force. What am I thinking?
Yeah, I have all of those that they've released so far. I have the rabbit and the pandas are on pre-order.
You know what else this would look good in? Some Battle Cat colors. So he'd fit even more
Yes.
in with Tiger Force. Holy cow, this is great.
It's such a great
I
figure.
so I
All of those figures are. I've shown a couple on here too. They're
yeah,
fantastic.
I still want to get Crocker, but I haven't been able to I've been purchasing other things, and he's kind of a large one-time purchase. I haven't quite been
And
able to.
the shark gangster guys are coming out too.
Those also look amazing. So I gotta keep the gotta keep the streak alive.
Do it.
So I normally I generally don't know what's in here. This week I have a pretty good idea. Now this is from Walmart, so you can probably guess what might be in here as well. So I know what I ordered.
Saltines and canned chili.
If I was ill, it would be saltines, ginger ale, and possibly like a cup of noodles. That was like the recipe for getting us through any illness that we had.
Right.
All right, so I know what I ordered.
Oh,
Let's
I
see
forgot to
what they.
mention, I didn't see that the helmet has fangs on it.
Oh, that's even better. Oh, that's cool. I
Yeah,
love
it's
that.
just a BMX helmet with fangs on it, which is pretty cool. You know, Cobra, safety
Holy
first for
cow!
Cobra.
So for the first time in a long time, Walmart actually sent me what I wanted.
Oh,
So this
check
is
it
the
out. Moss Man.
yeah. So this is the Ninja Turtles Cross Masters of the Universe Moss Man,
He's
who is
translucent, yeah.
yeah, he is impressively translucent. I'm liking this a lot.
Cool.
I
Does he glow in the
he
dark?
no, unfortunately,
Damages!
his
Damages! He should
accessories
glow.
should absolutely glow in the dark. What are you doing?
Bioluminescent moss. Come on.
Absolutely. So this randomly came into stock on Walmart's website sometime last week, I think, and I saw it, and I had already gone through this with Krang, or Krang randomly came in stock. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. The Merman listing, which
Merman,
we
right,
all
right.
kind of knew was phony. So people were putting in orders, and then their order would go through, and then they would either like go to the store to pick up, or they would get their shipping box, and it would have Krang instead of Merman. Which, considering how ridiculously I don't care about my own exclusive Walmart is, at least in the ones in New York that I have seen, is not too bad. But people were really hoping to get what they actually ordered. So I had done that as well, and they just canceled my order. So I
Right.
jumped
I hear
on this.
the good people of Lebanon are doing well
Yeah,
with their Walmarts.
they seem to be doing all right. Maybe one of them would help us out. They,
Yeah,
they keep listening, but they've been supplanted by
by Canada.
by Canada. So thank
Right.
you, listeners in Canada. We appreciate you
Right.
listening and watching.
We
So yeah,
love our toy hosers.
so I put in an order for this, expecting it to be canceled, or to get like two Leonardos or something, and they actually sent Moss Man. I guess a broken clock is right twice a day. So I have no proper way to transition into the
Ah,
topic, but we had so much fun talking last week when our topic was African American
right.
action
See, that was a
figures, and
proper transition. That was a proper transition.
we 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 hardly we talked about a few different characters, but there's so many, there's so many more, and we really kind of started just kind of naming things at the end, and I would like to explore that a little bit more. So this week's
Right.
topic is part two of African American action figures, and I guess
Nice.
we should start with the kind of the
We
list that
left
we were
off with
starting
Spawn,
to.
right? We left off with Spawn.
Yes, so let's talk about Spawn, and then we'll jump on to some of the other characters. So
Let's.
I I I know when Spawn came out. Well, we lived through it when Spawn popped up. It was such a
We lived
huge.
through it.
Well, Spawn is something you live through. Yeah, we all experienced Spawn together.
Right, but it
From
was cool. I know what you're saying. It was cool for us to see the birth of a superhero
yeah, I mean, and it was
in pop culture. Yeah,
kind of a momentous time in comics where that was the peak of the comic boom. Everyone had extended outward. Image had just appeared with all
right,
these artists that you knew the names of them. You read all their stuff in Marvel and DC, and now they have their own company, and they're making all this brand new stuff we'd never seen. It's like Savage Dragon and the Max, and Spawn was like the flagship comic for that. Granted, unfortunately, it also led to and was deeply involved in that horrible crash. But it's not
right,
we're not two guys talking comics. But
right, right.
specifically, we'll get into the toys as a reflection of the character and the character story. Spawn was an African American man who was sent to war, and he was betrayed, and it was a whole thing. But it was interesting to see a character who, even though he's wearing a mask, that the main character in this story is an African American, and it's not like sometimes we have stories that are quote unquote black stories,
Right. I was
and
just
it
thinking that.
and yeah, and I think that that's fine depending on how well they're written. And other times, you know, everyone is everyone, and you just experience things, and
Right.
it's not completely influenced by what your skin tone is. And Spawn was one of those comics where it was kind of like just a blank. It was just a story that was
Hmm.
written, and
Right.
the main cast happened to be African American, and it still worked as a really good story. And the figures, we've talked about it before, really ahead of their time.
Yeah.
He's
Change the industry.
yes, he pushed the envelope, and everyone followed suit to compete with that. What was your first Spawn toy?
Our first Spawn toy was the original 6-inch Spawn
Mhm,
figure, and I
mhm,
didn't know who he was at the time. Like I
mhm,
had heard it, but I hadn't read the comics
mhm,
yet. And both of my brothers were aware of who he was and what he was, and then I had to catch up.
mhm.
But yeah, it was that first one with the plastic cape with the pseudo hinges,
Yeah.
you know, which was it was new. It was a new look for a cape. It was
Mhm,
interesting. But the Spawn storyline, like you said, was interesting because it wasn't written as an African American story, but it was
yes.
in that, here's Al Simmons. He's a war hero, right? It
Mhm,
gave us a lot of different things. Fun. It gave us two ways to look at war, right? Was he a hero? But then he was
mhm.
condemned to hell because of all the people he killed in the name of the government, right?
Mhm,
And then, because it painted him as a puppet, a tool to Jason
mhm.
Wynn, to the government, to Malbolgia, to
Yeah.
everyone. And he didn't have, although he was a hero and he had a family and he was living
Mhm,
what could be perceived as the American dream, he didn't have freedom.
Yeah.
He couldn't go do whatever he wanted to because of all these oppressive things that are around him. So, it was just so well written. And we don't give McFarlane a lot, but I will give him that. And that Spawn figure was the first one, and it changed the way we played. It changed the way we
Yeah.
collected. What was yours? What was your first introducing those toys?
I think I may have had the same one that you had. I remember
Mhm.
picking up seeing him in the comic shop. Yeah, being amazed by both the design, being fascinated
Yeah.
by the story, and
And
then
aside from the
getting,
cape, it was well sculpted.
yeah, the sculpt was different for the time that it came out. Like, this was around the time that Toy Biz was kind of cranking out, yeah, lots and lots of characters, which was fine, but they all,
Right.
and granted, McFarlane also started off with the kind of like the 5 POA, but
Right.
again,
Yep.
it was like the detailing. It was uh you know innovative
Yeah,
little things, like you said, like the
with the
cape, like
chains hanging
yeah,
off and the spikes. It
yeah,
was
the
it was
chains.
cool.
Yeah, the chains were different, and then you had little funny things. Like I remember Spawn coming with the board with a nail in it.
Right.
You're like, I thought you were an emissary for Malbosia. What are you doing with a board with a nail in it, Spawn? But
Right.
but it was, they were really cool looking figures, and
That's this hobo mover.
it's just move it along, please.
Yeah.
Just if you could, please. Um, I remember the other spawns that popped up, and always kind of wondering what a lot of their stories were like. Medieval Spawn showed
Right.
up.
Which also was a great figure that was in that
Yes,
first run with
yep.
the clown and Violator, I think.
I had there was a line of like just large scale figures that they made for Spawn that were
Yeah, the
really
10
good
inch.
quality. Yeah, I remember getting the one for actual Spawn, and the cape on that having the wires through it. It was kind of rubbery.
Mhm.
Maybe one of the best Spawn figures, even though it wasn't
That
human
one is
articulation.
fantastic. Yeah.
It's really good. Um,
Now,
oh
let me ask you this. I know that you were affected, like you when you were young, you were drawn towards you wanted to be drawn towards, I should say, toys that look like you, right?
mhm,
And then you latched on to the Snake Man because there was no racial persona there.
mhm.
How did you feel? Did Spawn affect you in that way when the character came out, when the toys came out? Was it, or because he had a mask on and was deranged looking under it, did it not matter?
You know what? Yes and no. By the time that Spawn came out, I was old enough where I was pretty well set in what I did and didn't like.
Mhm.
Um, so at that point, just seeing a character that happened to be African American wasn't going to sell me immediately. I was glad to see it. Like, I was glad that,
Right.
oh, hey, holy cow. Um, we didn't see him unmasked a whole lot. Like, there wasn't a lot of Spawn running around in the suit minus the mask, even though there was like the hamburger head Spawn. Uh, I think
Mhm.
there was an Agent Simmons figure that came out, but I don't remember if you actually got to see his face or if it was covered with a helmet. Um, I thought that the comic existing was really cool, and this was, yeah, a story with black people in it. Holy cow!
Mhm.
And it's like one of the best comics that's being produced by Image right now. But I wouldn't pick Spawn over other certain things that I had already grown an
Right.
attachment to. Like,
Gotcha.
I was super into Venom. I was super
Right.
into like Black Panther. Um, so
Oh, we need to talk about Black Panther. But you're right. The figure in itself wasn't per se an African American figure because
yes,
every other figure in the line was either this demonic looking thing
mhm,
or a white dude. So
yes. I
in the
mean,
initial giving anyway,
yeah. I mean, as far as
except for
like,
Chapel, then Chapel came along, but
yeah,
he was with the,
yep. So let's shift to Black Panther, because I really want to get really want to get to
yeah,
that
Black Panther's such a great character.
from
When was
con.
he introduced, Black Panther? Do you know?
Well, in the '60s, there's a quote from Kirby, and it's of the '60s,
Right.
where him and Stan Lee realized that they didn't have any black characters, and he's like, "We need to make a character for the blacks," and that's like, "Oh, yeah, 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 yes, you do." Um,
Well,
so
okay. You didn't need to put it like that, but you're
that's
right. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I
We
mean,
need to
I'm sure
explore some diverse populations, something, but
it's an interview of its time. But so they created Black Panther, and I I remember seeing him, and I remember not thinking that he was pandering, but kind of knowing why he was there. I was glad he
right.
was
Yeah, yeah,
there,
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
but
and he was done right. He was done right.
yeah, and I think they introduced him as a king character, and he was regal, and he was actually a
I
very
was just
effective character.
Right.
But they're
I
but
was
they're
just ready to say that, especially at the
Mhm.
time. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh,
Especially
no, go
at
ahead.
that time in the
Mhm.
60s, right?
Yeah.
When we had, the exploitation films coming into
Mhm.
the 70s and all of that. Like, um,
Yeah, he was a big change from Luke Cage,
right,
who I also love, but
right.
Luke
To, to,
Cage is Luke
to quote
Cage.
what you just quoted from Kirby, to create a character for the blacks. But most time at that time period for that population, we had Shaft, Luke
Mhm.
Cage, you know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
to present royalty
Mhm.
from Africa who was, better than anyone in any way. You know what I mean? It was bold. It was bold.
Yeah, it was interesting. It's interesting the way that he was portrayed initially, because the idea of Wakanda was always there, that there was
Yeah.
this area in Africa that everyone just kind of passed by because it looked like your usual just huts and whatever. But underneath all
Right.
of that was this super technology that nobody knew about because they purposely kept it hidden, and that was a
Yeah.
really cool concept. And I loved that. That I liked that it's been a through line with him from then and through to now. But up until I want to say the early 2000s, he would appear, he was there, and he looked really cool, but then he would just kind of go away, or he would have other things to do. It wasn't until, yeah, I want to say like kind of the early 2000s when they started really pushing the fact that, yes, he's a king, but he is also ridiculously smart. He is
Hmm.
capable. He is essentially like our almost our version of Batman. He has an effective plan for everything. He can be
Right.
ruthless when he needs to be because he's a king protecting his people. And then like it was almost like he shifted into the next gear where he was ahead of the curve all the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Um, and I like that his look changed over the years. I think that you had the I guess
Of course,
the
because he started out with a big collar and a V cut, so that's your
yeah.
thing.
I would love for Marvel to make I would love for Marvel to start making like more concept figures. Uh, I like the a version of him that we didn't get to see that was initially planned was for him to have an exposed mouth, almost like the Batman cowl,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and then they wound up just covering it up. But I would love we still need like a few more of those. Like I don't know if Marvel Legends has done the one where his costume has kind of like that bluish tint.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't know
They
if
did
that
the figure, the 4-inch figure with the lines.
yeah
Yeah.
there's the 4-inch one. We need a proper 6-inch one. But I like that
Hmm.
they've touched on a lot of different forms that he's had. Diamond Select has a really good Black Panther.
Yes,
It
they
comes
do.
with the with the little tree diorama.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I was just thinking out of nowhere, this is way off topic, but did they ever do like a Black Panther Phantom crossover?
I don't think so, although that would be really cool. I'd be
Yeah.
on board for that
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
because I mean, because it almost kind of writes itself. Where Phantom's running around in the jungles of they're not very specific on exactly where he is, and if he
Right.
just happened to stumble across Wakanda, that would be
Yeah.
interesting.
Mhm.
I'd be on board for that. But I we still have so many characters and versions of Black Panther that we haven't gotten in toy form, and a lot of them based on him being prepared for the worst.
Right. Yeah, he's very Batman in that way.
I loved there was a period of time when Amadeus Cho was the Incredible Hulk, and it's terrible. And
It's
I apologize that
a sad state of time.
yeah, for anyone that loves that story, I apologize. I hated it, but there's a
And then
point in
go seek
time.
help.
Yeah, there was a point in time where Black Panther was dealing with him, and he brought out what was essentially his version of the Hulkbuster armor. But it was this really cool Panther mech.
Why aren't we
And
going to get that? Like, where's the toy for that?
give me that as a build a figure. And again, just different looks that he had when he like substituted in for Daredevil.
Hmm.
There is a version of him where he is the spirit of vengeance, and he has this flaming skull, but it's a panther skull, and his ride is just a giant fiery panther. Give me that
See,
figure.
that would be outstanding
Yeah, give
as
like
a toy.
we've gotten Zabu. I'd be on board for more. Give me more. Uh, Black Panther is also one of those toy lines where, well, I mean, I guess he's not like toy line per se, but he's one of the few characters where I actively pursued both the comic and the movie line. Like the live
Yeah.
action movie toy line for Black Panther was
Look pretty good.
phenomenal.
Yeah. Even the non-masked figures
Yes,
looked better than the others
the
because
face.
that's where they always lack.
Yep. the face sculpt for Chadwick Boseman was really well done, both in the first wave of them, and then later in the second wave when Wakanda Forever came out. They
Yeah, and all of them were, even,
Mhm.
Killmonger and
Yes.
M'Baku, they all look good.
Hmm. M'Baku, I'm really glad to see the way that they updated. Like he's another one of those characters, and I'm really glad that they chose to update him. I know that in the time that he came out, he's another character that is of his time. Uh, yeah, he was man ape and was running around with an ape skin on him and whatnot. And I am not offended by it per se, because again, he's a character that came out at that time. But I am glad that that's gone.
Yeah,
Uh,
I
I
agree.
like the updated version of him. There's no tribe that it more accurately depicts the way that tribes utilize animal fur.
Mhm,
And again, like I get that. Yeah, he was what he was when he came out.
right.
But I love seeing the way that they have updated that and interpreted. Okay, he's of like the Gorilla Clan, so they dress in this particular way. They're big dudes. There's a storyline in Marvel right now where they've kind of like it's essentially Wakanda in space, which is kind of neat. Um,
It's
and
like
he,
pigs in space.
yeah, just tooling around in the cosmos in the name of Wakanda. And M'Baku has this updated armor where he can essentially project what look like Green Lantern uh,
Huh,
constructs, but he makes these giant like purple gorilla arms to fight people with, and it looks awesome.
that's cool.
So I guess what we're trying to say is that Marvel has a long way to go to give us as much a little bit more Black Panther stuff than we've already gotten.
Right. Oh, so we didn't mention that, Black Panther took a bride.
Yes. So I mean, I'm sure everyone knows, but she is also possibly the closest thing that Marvel has to a African American person as an icon. Storm.
Yes, Storm,
Storm.
absolutely.
Everyone knows Storm. Like there are when someone is famous, when someone has like a specific look, and someone else that you see walking around is dressed like that person, you know who they're referencing. If you see an African American lady with white hair,
The
you
striking white hair, yeah.
you immediately know what she looks like. It's it's Storm.
It's, African American Dolly Parton.
Absolutely. The curly hair, the guitar, the country songs, the
The
improper
tassels.
the body design that is an improper fraction. That was how my grade school teacher described Dolly Parton, which I always thought was hilarious looking back on it. And she was like,
That's
yeah,
funny.
yeah,
That's
she was like,
funny.
yeah, the unit was fractions, and she was explaining what things were, and she's like, and sometimes you have an improper fraction where one thing is larger on top than. And she turns to the side and is like, yeah, like Dolly Parton, improper fraction.
That's funny.
uh, which sometimes is how Storm is drawn, but
Right.
uh,
I wonder how many
let
people now
me
are gonna describe women in the bar now as, "Man, that girl's built like an improper fraction."
proper
Let's see if
fraction.
this let's
She's
see if
in.
that gets us.
She's pretty improper. But Storm is one of my favorite characters. She is, aside from just being a well written, awesome character. Her design, I like that her design is constantly evolving. Like she is constantly
Yes.
drawn in different manners and different ways. And I am glad that Hasbro has really been on top of that and given us a fair number of a lot of her different looks, like her classic look where she had the like the headdress and the tassels. I love her
Mhm.
animated look where she had the like the X clasps and had her outfit almost looked metallic.
Yeah.
Uh, I still need to get the VHS version of her
Oh, it's
because
really well done.
look, it looks so good. Um, I love that I like that even Toy Biz. I shouldn't say even Toy Biz. Toy Biz was really good about
Ah,
also kind of capturing uh, a lot of different looks for Storm.
Storm is what Storm is one of the one characters consistently they did really well with the peak being that one in the blue that we looked at
Yes,
the other day.
yeah. What was that? Machine Wars? Not Machine Wars.
Mhm.
Or like
Something
Machine
like that.
Fighters or
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
because it was such a it was more kind of like her 90s redesign where they gave her kind of like the straight longish hair and she comes with yeah like her accessory is kind of weird, but if you take that
I don't even know what it is. Something
uh,
mechanical.
yeah it looks kind of just like a sphere on a base or it's very strange, but if you take that particular Storm, that blue one, and then you put her in that really cool whirlwind accessory that I think one of the Marvel Legends that Toy
One of
Biz
the it
made.
was the first Marvel Legends Storm, yeah.
Yes, if you put her in that, it's a really good display piece. She is
Mhm.
fantastic, and
And if
yeah,
I remember correctly, it hangs on the wall. All of the initial
mhm,
Marvel Legend accessories were wall hangers. Like
yes,
the Doctor Doom came with the balcony to stand on and
mhm.
preach his propaganda. Yeah, those and that was a cool idea. I like that.
Did you get the Halle Berry version of her when they were doing the X-Men movie figures? I
I
did not.
did, not when it was new. I picked it up later on.
Mhm,
Like I picked up those movie figures later on at like flea markets and
yeah.
out of bins,
Mhm.
3 for $5 kind of things. Yeah.
I don't blame you. I mean, it was again like we've talked about the X Men movie figures where
Mm,
they tried, and I will give them credit for trying, but they were
mhm.
not kind of a swing and a miss.
Yeah,
But you know what? It's hard to swing and miss with Storm because she's such a great character, and she
it
has so
is.
many great looking figures.
And her story is how do I put this? Like it's just it's the American dream. It's the story of her people,
Hmm.
right? She was living in Egypt, Cairo, I believe.
Hmm.
Um, poor, had this thief, right? And then was made her way looking for something better, came to the US, became a superhero, became an icon, worked her
Hmm.
way up, going back home and
Hmm.
becoming royalty. Like, that's just a great story. It took a couple of decades to write it, but Storm just has a great story.
I might
Fantastic.
I might be in in the smaller cluster of people. I kind of didn't like her marriage to Black Panther.
Really?
Yeah, I wasn't a
Because
big
you
fan.
thought it felt forced? Felt
Yeah, it
forced?
felt a little bit for he had the most powerful, African American character in Marvel or in Africa, and marrying an Omega level mutant who also just happens to be. I like the story that they came up with years ago when T'Challa was a young child and he was on a trip to I forgot what he said, Cairo or Kenya that she's
Yeah.
from, and he had gotten separated or he ran off and he had gotten into trouble, and people who didn't know he was a prince were chasing him down, and Storm, who was already like well versed in stealing and fighting and whatnot for Shadow King, defended him and
Right.
fought off these dudes, and then she left, and he was like, "Who is this goddess that saved me?" So I guess on the one hand, it made sense for him to eventually refine her and
Right. He
marry.
called
And
dibs. He called dibs.
but I would, you know what I do love though, their offspring, all their con- concept offspring that you see in like Elseworld stories,
Yeah.
uh, all look really cool. There is a in one story they have a daughter named Chimera who
It's a great name.
wields the power of the Black Panther. She has lightning. She's got her own like Electro Panther. Then there's Azari who is in that Avengers Next movie,
Yes, which is great.
who I desperately wish that the kid at the end of Wakanda Forever was. He's not, but I wish he
Yeah,
was.
they dropped the ball big time on that one. Just
Retcon
saying.
that immediately. And then there's a concept of Thor having a child with Storm named Thunderstorm, of course.
Of
And
course.
she looks amazing. And I really wish
Yes.
that they would make a toy of her. Like call it like what could you even call it? Children of the Storm 3-pack. And release those three characters because that would be
Right.
amazing.
They could
Uh,
call it the runoffs.
yeah, and Storm's such an amazing character that I love seeing other people pay homage to her. Like right now, WWE has a wrestler named Jade who is a like
Yes.
just like a super athlete, a black lady, like amazing athlete, super cool, does amazing stuff in the ring. But when she wrestles for WWE now, but she was wrestling for AEW. When she was there, she would color her hair like green and blue and whatnot and match her outfit. When she got to WWE, they took one look at her and they're like, "You are dyeing your hair white, and we are going to introduce you as like her title, her Titantron thing when she comes out says a storm is coming." And then there's
Nice.
lightning and they have the whole thing. And I was like, yes, somebody was on board for that because if you take a look at her, yes, this is Storm made in the flesh. I love Halle
Right.
Berry and the way that she performed, but she's not wrestling. So,
Right. Right. She
but
did do
let's,
that one movie with the boxing or something. She did. Or was she an MMA fighter? I don't know. She had some movie a
oh,
couple of years with
yeah, I think
fighting.
so. I think she was an MMA fighter.
Yeah.
But
Um,
speaking of wrestling, wrestling figures had for pretty early on had a
yeah.
lot of African American characters, but also made them in toy form, which was really
Right.
impressive because there
Yeah,
wasn't a whole lot
when
of that
that
at the
started,
time.
when we were kids, we had, unfortunately, some of them still fit into a lot of those stereotypes and that because
Yeah,
when we were kids, we had Junkyard Dog and
everyone was brown sugar or something.
right, yeah, yeah, SD Jones and yeah,
Yep.
um,
But then
yeah,
you
and
had
that's the way.
but then you had your guys. Every now and then you get someone that really kind of broke the mold, like Butch Reed, who came out with the blonde hair,
Correct. Mhm.
who predates Wesley Snipes with the blonde hair by 5 years. But Butch Reed was awesome. Ron Simmons, who
Oh yeah,
before his first
I
run in
forgot about
WWF,
Ron Simmons.
yeah, when he was still in WCW,
Yeah, when they
just
broke
a
away from the whole
powerhouse.
like Nigel and all of that nonsense, and
Yeah, and even I mean, and they like you said, like they were very they also had their not the best, like Booker T, his first gimmick was GI Bro. um
right,
I
right.
don't know if there is a toy of this, and I don't know if one should exist.
No, probably not.
It's part of his history. I don't know, I don't know if he would even want that to exist, but
I
uh
don't think you would.
like those characters, they were so larger than life, and
Oh,
having
Tony
action
Atlas. We had
figures of
Tony
them.
Atlas. So yeah,
Yeah, Tony Atlas. I don't know if Rocky Johnson had an action. I
not
think
until
now,
recently. But
yeah,
yeah,
I think now he has one. Um, Coco Beware, but like a lot of these characters who were so. I remember them being in the commercials for the toys because they had such big personalities, and you wanted to
yeah,
get kids excited. And like you said, like Junkyard Dog, his big appeal was both to grown ups and men and women, but also kids. Like when he came into WWF, for better or worse, he was pushed as like not even a comedy character, but he was there to get the kids hyped up. And I remember them like bringing the kids in the ring, and
yep.
he would dance, and
And
it
he
was a lot of
barked
fun.
and yeah.
Yeah, same thing with Coco Beware, where he had Frankie, and that was like just a big attraction for the
Yeah.
younger audience that they wanted to bring in. And the toys for their time, for the time that the toys came out, weren't that bad. I like the Junkyard
No.
Dog looked like Junkyard Dog. I remember Coco Beware looked like Coco Beware, which was really impressive because you have some characters, especially the women, unfortunately, who just needed a lot of work,
Yeah.
a lot of help.
We're getting downtown, but we haven't spoken a lot about John Stewart. And he brought some.
Oh, 100%.
He brought
Let
weight. I'm going to say he brought weight to the Justice League, and that's something to say when you have Superman and Wonder Woman on the squad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
But
especially
John
because
Stewart brought weight. Like his
mhm,
persona had that marine, machismo, take charge.
mhm.
Like you wanted to follow him as a leader.
Yes,
He became a
100%.
leader of the Justice League where Hal Jordan didn't.
Yes, because you had you're 100% right because at the time you had like Barry Allen and Hal Jordan, and everyone really wants Flash to be the Wally West as opposed
Wally
to the
West.
Barry.
Yeah.
So especially now when he's written, he's always joking around. But you also do that with Hal, he was more of a sarcastic than just a
Right. He was a
jokester. But
straight man.
there's
He was a straight man to Wally.
yeah,
They were
but
they were
they
the Abbott and Costello. Yeah.
they were a comedy act. And when you introduce John Stewart, like you said, Marine, military man, straight and narrow, especially in the animated series,
Yeah.
I love that he was maybe not leader, but like you said, he was someone you followed. And I love that we actually started to get John Stewart action figures, him showing up in
Yeah.
DC Universe and the Justice League Unlimited line. He looked great. His constructs were awesome. I really wish that.
We're down to the last few seconds.
Oh
Go.
no, we really are. Oh crud! Thank you for joining us for another episode of
Crud.
Two Guys Talking Toys. If you want to get a hold of us, join us on Twitter. Our handle is Two Guys Talking Toys. That is the number 2, no G after the talking. Same thing for our Gmail. We are on Instagram at 2G Talking Toys. Take care, everybody.